What's up, guys? Been a while since I've done this. I feel like I say that with every video I do now for YouTube, and it's actually true. I seem to neglect this YouTube channel. I always forget to bring the video camera out when I'm recording or doing things, or yeah, it's just not a habit for me yet to make these videos, so I'm really far behind. But anyways, wanted to kind of do a quick video update on what we're up to. So it's actually early December now. Weather's getting cold. We're here in Kansas City area, and it's unusually warm for December, but it's still colder nevertheless, and I'm not a fan of the cold, even though I've grown up in the Midwest my whole life. But yeah, we're getting ready for the cold winter season. Had some things happen here lately on the homestead that I just unfortunately didn't get to record. But anyways, I was out last night and realized that now that the colder weather is here, the chickens, we do have chickens, they're out of feed, and I never put feed out for them. They free range around the property. Never put feed out for them when the weather's warm, because they're out and about, eating bugs, grass, and they get their fill of all things natural. But when the weather starts to cool down and the bugs are gone, they don't have any food left. So now it's getting back into the routine of making sure they have their feed. So thought I'd grab the camera and talk a little bit about chickens. I think for anyone that is thinking about getting chickens, or for those that have a homestead or a farm, it seems like chickens are always kind of the one animal that you have or you start with, and that's how it was for us. Chickens tend to be relatively easy to start with, relatively affordable, but yeah, so I thought I'd take a minute here to kind of talk about, I walked in on the cat pooping there, peeing. Thought I'd take a minute to talk about why we have chickens, and if you're thinking about getting chickens, kind of what to expect, at least from our perspective. We have, so what am I doing here? I'm over here trying to get feed. That's what I need to do. So we started with about 20 chickens. Actually got a bunch of chicks. We just jumped on Craigslist. We had talked about it for a while, and one day after work, after I left the office, I jumped on Craigslist, found somebody that was that had some chicks for sale, and I forget the breeds, but there was Orpingtons, they had some Silkies. Oh gosh, I just don't remember them all off the top of my head. But anyways, picked up a total of about 20 chicks, which is what we started with. Brought them home, had a brooder set up. Brooder is basically just an enclosure for your chicks to grow up in, and I can do a video on all that later if anybody's interested. But 20 chickens is what we started with. 20 chicks. We, for the most part, were pretty successful up until they were about a month or so old, and then we had our first casualty. One of the pullets, which is basically one of the female chicks when they get a little bit older, walked in on the chicken coop, and a rat snake was wrapped around one of the pullets. And so that was our first casualty. That happened about a month after we got the chicks, after we started. But after that, we never really had any other casualties with wildlife or any other animals taking the chicks. But what we did have happen was we started having a lot of those chickens die on us just naturally, natural causes. And one of those that we discovered, the natural causes, was from something called Merrick's disease, I believe is what it's called. And that's because the chicks, the chickens that we got from Craigslist, the lady didn't vaccinate them, and that's perfectly fine with me. But that was kind of the downside we learned, was that apparently without that vaccination, or one of the vaccinations that these birds get, they're more susceptible to these diseases. And what happens with Merrick's is it kind of just causes them to become disabled to the point where we lost them because they some of them I actually had to put down because they just can't walk anymore. They apparently they just kind of lose function or control of their legs, their body, and so they're gonna die. And it's kind of sad, but then at the same time, it's, I guess, to be expected. When we got started, we had a guy that we encountered that grew up on a farm, and one of the things he told us jokingly was, "Oh yeah, chickens, they're good at dying." And we started to learn that firsthand, because out of the 20 chickens that we started with, so we're what, 3 years in, out of the 20 chickens that we started with, I think we're probably at maybe 5 of our original batch. Now ever since then we actually hatched a few more of our own, and we actually did pick up a few more over the years. Ordered some eggs, or not some eggs, but some chicks. And so we're back to, I think, about 10 or so chickens. Probably seems a little odd because I was sitting here talking about chickens. I just realized none of the chickens are in here. I do have chickens, trust me. We do have chickens. They're on the other side, so the way this coop is set up, it's actually just an old garage, and basically a 2-car garage, separate structure from the house. Yeah, basically just converted it to a chicken coop. So on this side, that's where the feeders are at. Once again, 2 30-pound feeders, which just takes a whole 50-pound. I just use a 50-pound bag, and that fills up. Once again, lasts about 2 to 3 weeks. We have this this egg box. Don't use it. I'll show you the egg box on the other side. But I cut a hole through the wall here, so the roost is actually on the other side, and that's where they go primarily. I have the food set up on this side just because it's a little bit easier to come through this side, and it's not as it's a little bit more open air. I have the screened in door versus this side. This side's filled with more chicken droppings and their roost and their egg box, which I was telling you about. So they're mostly on this side for roosting, laying. They go to that side for eating. And here's the automatic chicken door I was talking about. So I have an actuator that I put in there with some timers. Just got them off Amazon, wired it together, and I believe it's set to open up at 6 in the morning and then closes, I think, roughly right now at about 8 o'clock at night. But honestly, with the dogs around, I could probably leave this open, and I'm really not too worried about predators coming around here just because the dogs are pretty active. And I have not seen any raccoons, possums, or skunks or anything like that since we have the dogs roaming the property. But here's 3 of the hens. 2 of them, the one on the left and the far right, are from our original batch of 20. The one in the middle, and you gotta pardon me, I don't remember the breeds. My wife probably remembers. Those of you watching probably know. But the one in the middle, I think, came from the second order of chicks that we got online. So, and this was a roost I didn't really build. I just kind of, it was here when I moved in. The previous owners of this place, they had chickens, but I just kind of lifted the structure up a little bit. I mean, they had the roost here. They had it kind of, jaggedy, and I just kind of put it back up for the chickens to roost, because that's what they do at night. So this was a box that I put together for them to lay. Previously, I did use that nest box that you saw. I didn't like having to come inside the coop to get the eggs. So what I did was I put this box together. The chickens, the hens, can go in from this side, from inside the coop, and you can see the eggs that are in there right now. But I cut a door out from the outside. I actually did a video of this, but I never put it together. I don't know why, and I don't even know where the video's at now. But I did it this way so that we can come out from the outside of the coop, just access the eggs. Also makes it easier to clean, so I can go in there and just scoop out all the straw and the droppings. It makes it a whole lot easier to clean that. With the door, so I've got the actuator that automatically opens and closes, but if I ever need to leave the door shut for whatever reason, a good example was recently we had some family over and they wanted to bring their dogs over. So I had the chickens go inside the coop, and since the actuator, instead of having to go in and manually adjust the timer on the actuator, got this door with the latch on the outside, so that just allows me to come in and manually close the chickens up in there without having to adjust the manual timer. But that makes it very convenient. So my point about figuring out a way to automate the process, if you can automate the process with raising chickens, it's actually pretty easy. And we can be, I mean, honestly, during the summer months, if we were to be gone for a month, 2 months, 3 months, I wouldn't even worry about the chickens, you know, being able to survive, because they got food naturally. They're roaming our, you know, now 9 acres. They really don't stray too far away, because there's plenty of bugs, and then they've got plenty of water. So yeah, it's a pretty easy animal to raise. And once again, if you're thinking about getting chickens, the eggs are worth it, and it's also good practice for getting comfortable raising animals on a homestead. And the kids love it. Guests, family enjoy it when they come over. We have chicken scratch on hand, so when kids are here, we'll let them throw some scratch around and the chickens come out and get it. But as you can see, chickens are just, now that they're out of the coop, they're kind of walking around doing their thing. There's the 2 guineas. Hen, the rooster with his hobbled leg. I know some of you might ask why I don't do something about his leg. I wouldn't know what to do, and I know the diehard chicken lovers would probably bandage them or take them in or bring them to the vet. And as sad as this might be to say, I mean, chickens are fairly disposable. They're not really that expensive, so if something happens to them or if they die, I mean, they're just so easily replaced. It's not like a cow or a pig or something where you're talking about, you know, several $100s in, you know, an animal. I mean, they're literally a couple bucks a piece. So yeah, well, yeah, just take the gate down. So that's it on chickens. Apologize for sounding like I'm all over the place. I guess I kind of am. Didn't really plan much on the video other than just grabbing the camera to talk about it, since I knew I needed to come give them a feed. But if you have anything you want to see, if you want to know more about our setup, comment below and I'll do what I can. But yeah, I'm still new to this YouTube thing. Still getting new to it. Chickens are getting on the roost now because the sun's starting to go down. So they're all, I don't know if you can see them. I will answer one more question and then I'm gonna end this video. But something that I had a friend ask is, how did I train them to go inside the coop at night? I don't know if it was so much training as it was just kind of, well, I guess you could call it training. But what I did was when we first got the chickens, our first batch, I kept them inside the coop for about a week, maybe 2 weeks, so that they would know that's where their feed is, that's where their water is, that's where they could roost. And then after about that first week, 2 weeks, that's when I started to let them free range. And then from there, they just knew that, okay, well, at night, that's where their roost is, that's where their feed is. So that was really it. I didn't really train them. So if that's something you're interested or curious about, just put them somewhere where their food, I think like any animal, where their food and water is at, they'll know that's where home is at. That's where they go. So, okay, it's getting cold. I'm gonna go in. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you want to watch us grow on this farm, or watch me try to grow this farm. Next year, we did one of the videos I talked about picking up that land behind us. It's another 5 acres behind us, and I do plan on getting some pigs. No experience raising pigs, so be sure to subscribe and you can watch us get our hands dirty together. So, all right, till next time.